right. Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled Safe Towing Starts Here, Understanding and Preventing Trailer Sway. My name is Ginger Baker-Sanhuesa, and I'm the Programming Director at the National Association of Trailer Manufacturers, or NATM. I'm excited to welcome you to this special webinar as part of our Trailer Safety Week. So Trailer Safety Week is an annual nationwide awareness campaign dedicated to improving trailer safety through education and outreach. Whether you tow every day, haul equipment for work, take your boat out on weekends, or only tow occasionally, trailer safety impacts all of us. Small decisions from choosing the right equipment to how cargo is loaded can make big differences once you hit the road. So for those of you that may not be familiar with NATM, we are an association representing trailer manufacturers and industry partners who are committed to improving trailer safety and promoting best practices across the trailer industry. Our manufacturing members voluntarily participate in an independent compliance verification program focused on ensuring that they have those processes in place to meet federal safety standards. But trailer safety doesn't stop at manufacturing alone, because how a trailer is loaded, equipped, and operated plays an equally important role, which is why education efforts like today's webinar matter. So today's topic is one that many people don't think about until they experience it. You've packed that trailer, you hit the road, and everything feels fine until the trailer starts moving more than expected. And a smaller amount of trailer sway is normal, but excessive trailer sway can definitely become dangerous very quickly. So the good news is that there are steps that you can take to reduce the likelihood of dangerous trailer sway and know how to respond safely if that happens. So today's session was designed to give you guidance and that you could actually use. But before we jump into today's session, please take a moment to locate the Q&A feature on your device. So that's going to allow you guys to go in and participate in today's session by submitting questions as they come to mind. So we'll reserve time at the end of the presentation to answer as many of those questions as possible. But at this time, I'm pleased to introduce our presenters for today from U-Haul. First, joining us is Marco Garcia, Director of Engineering Services at U-Haul International. And Marco has been with U-Haul for the past 10 years, and his experience includes automotive engineering, trailer performance, and real-world towing applications. Prior to joining U-Haul, Marco spent 13 years with Ford. And additionally, his work at U-Haul is centered on customer-focused engineering and advancing safe trailing practices. Marco, as well, also serves on the NATM, has served on NATM committees and is a past president of the NATM Board of Directors. So, hi, Marco. Welcome.
Hi.
Good to have
Welcome.
you
Thank
on.
you.
Next, we have William Craig. Will is an engineer at U-Haul and has spent 7 years working in the trailer industry. His work spans the full customer experience with towing equipment, from engineering and product design all the way through accident investigation and understanding how people interact with trailers in real-world situations. Will also serves on NATM's Technical and Technology Committee and brings a unique perspective that combines those engineering principles with practical trailering knowledge. So his goal is helping make complex trailer dynamics easier to understand so people can tow more confidently and safely. So hello, Will. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Ginger. Thank you for the intro. So everyone, welcome to Towing and Trailer Dynamics. Our goal today is to give you an approachable introduction of towing from U-Haul's perspective. So some things might surprise you. Some things might seem a little odd at first because there's a lot of mythology out there. U-Haul has been in trailering for over 80 years. So we're happy we can give you some time-tested guidance. We'll
Will,
give you
just a second.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to cut in real quick. I wanted to go ahead and introduce Sal as well. So I
Oh,
missed out on that
oh
one.
gosh,
And then
Sal.
I'll turn it over to you as well. So
Well, Ginger, we've got
um,
intro slides too.
oh, you do. I know you do. So that's going to be
Cool.
great. I remember that part of your presentation. But so joining Will and Marco is also Salvador Ceja. So Sal serves as the U-Haul's Safe Driving Program Manager and has more than 20 years of experience in driver safety and behind the wheel training. For more than 5 years at U-Haul, he has led training and safety procedures focused on helping drivers build safer habits and make better decisions on the road. So Sal believes trailering gives people the ability to accomplish bigger jobs with their personal vehicles, but doing it safely in a controlled manner. And we are welcoming Sal as well. So hi, Sal.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And before I turn it over to you, Will, I'm going to do a quick poll just to see what kind of audience we have joining us today. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that for you guys. You should see a poll coming up. Do you guys see that? You should see it on your side, panelists, but also those of you that are joining us today. So the first question says, what best describes your towing experience? Do you guys tow regularly, like weekly or more? Tow occasionally throughout the year? You've towed before, but not very often, or you're just new to the towing game? Let us know a little bit about your towing experience. And then number two says, what type of trailer do you most commonly tow or plan to tow? Are you a utility, boating, car hauler, cargo, or other? Number three says, when it comes to trailer sway, which statement sounds most like you? Have you experienced that really dangerous sway before? You want to prevent it? You know the basics, but you want to learn a little bit more, or you're not really sure about trailer sway, or you've never towed before but want to make sure you're prepared for that. So I'm going to take a second to let everybody answer through there. Once we get about, I don't know, 75, 80% participation, we'll post those results so that you guys as our speakers can go through and see what kind of audience that you have here.
It looks like the poll is anonymous here, so it's okay to admit that you have ended up backwards.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting that 0% have experienced dangerous sway because normally that does not end up in a good day. So they may not no longer be here with us if they had.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
sunshine.
So I'm going to end this poll. We're going to look a little bit to it. So it looks like 40 to 33, so 75%-ish say that they're towing, they're out there. But then you have one, like a little bit that have never towed before. What type of trailer? I have mostly on here utility trailers. You have a little bit of boat, car haulers. And then the last one, know the basics, but they want to learn more, which is great. Glad that you guys are here with us. So that's a little bit about what we got going on here. All
All
right.
right. Well, Ginger
So
will
knowing
finish up our
that,
intros.
now it's your turn, Will. I'm turning it over to you. Tell us all the things about trailer towing and what we can do to prevent that sway that we came here to look at.
All right, you got it. We'll give everybody a little chance to clear their throat. We've got a couple intro slides here. Um, so, of course, myself, I've been in cars for a good while. What you need to know here is I'm a licensed professional engineer at U-Haul, and I've been in cars for a long time. So my wife is still getting used to there being a fully stocked mechanic shop in our garage, in our backyard, our shed, sometimes our attic, occasionally the living room. Cool. Marco?
All right. Good afternoon. I've been with U-Haul, as mentioned, going on 11 years this summer. I spent 13 years with Ford. I'm a big car guy. I've worked with Ford, Delphi. I've been around cars all my whole life. My first engine swap was around, I think I was 11 years old when I did my first engine swap. And luckily, I've been with trailers for quite a while, understand them, do a lot of trailer testing, a lot of dynamic testing. You'll see some videos of some other stuff I've done throughout this presentation, and I'm just happy to be here. So thank you.
Adrian said to you, Gabriel.
Oh,
I'm Sal Ceja, as mentioned before. I've been with U-Haul over 5 years. I do all the safe driving, uh, DOT compliance, safe trailering, pretty much any actions that happen behind the wheel. I have 15 years experience with FedEx before this. Pretty much did everything behind the wheel over there, operations, safety. Um, so yeah, driving is a big part of my life, and I enjoy driving, being behind the wheel. So, uh, yeah, I'm really glad to be part of this panel today.
we're glad to have you. All right, so what are we covering today in 3 acts here? We're going to talk about what is a trailering combination? How do you select it? How do you put it together? How does it behave dynamically, both from the engineering perspective and the driver's seat? And then how do we advise you drive the combination? How is it different from driving a regular car A to B? All right, and buckle up, let's get ready. We're going to run through our terminology just a little bit. I'm just going to throw out some words here to keep in mind so we're all on the same page. So hitch, hitch ball mount, our coupler, chains, things on the tongue, cargo. What you're going to be concerned about is everything forward of the blue line. So your actions as a driver, selecting the right vehicle, selecting the right hitch system comprised of your hitch, ball mount, ball, and then there will be additional considerations for the trailer. All right, so I mentioned hitch receiver, ball mount, ball, coupler. These terms get confused a lot. So we just want to be absolutely clear what they are. So there are SAE standards, Society of Automotive Engineers, that guide the parlance. So we're going to try to stick to that today. You've got a hitch receiver, generally bolted to your tow vehicle. A ball mount has the ball, and then it slides into the hitch receiver generally. It's secured. A coupler goes on the ball, right? So there are a lot of different styles of hitches. What you're generally going to see is what's on the left. You may encounter, especially in older trucks or in a heavier truck, what we call a bumper mount hitch or a bumper hitch. But generally that black hitch receiver on the left is what you're dealing with here. Cool. And so this details how the ball is secured to the ball mount. So you see that large nut on the bottom. There are a few ways of doing this. Sometimes they're even welded. Then we have the ball mount here that slides into that receiver. There are different sizes that you need to match up and be aware of. And then it's all secured in there with a pin through the ball mount and the hitch receiver. Now on top of that, there's this little clip that goes through the pin and keeps it from coming out. But there are several different styles of pins, so you have to be familiar with yours. You can see it a little closer there. A couple of fun things to watch out here for, just because we see all aspects of trailering, is this pin being inserted part way, coming loose, or the ball mount not being inserted fully. So you might put it in, an inch or two, assume it's in there, put the pin in, you go to drive away and hopefully only make it 2 or 3 feet. All right, so the reason I drill down on there being these 3 separate components to your hitch system so much is because of the importance of looking at them individually in the hitch system, right? So when we're selecting what to use, we need to look at it individually at the weight ratings of these parts. There are exceptions out there. The size does not always mean that it's the appropriate tool for the job. So on your hitch receiver, you're going to see 2 different ratings. You're going to see a rating that encompasses all of the towed weight of the trailer behind the tow vehicle. And then you're going to see something that tells you how much weight you can put on it from the trailer tongue. Generally, that's 10 to 15% of the trailer weight, but it's going to be unique to your application. So make sure you're aware of this and make sure it matches where you need to be when you purchase it, when you install it. Next, the ball mount is stamped with the exact same things. So you're going to see a max towed weight on it. You're going to see a max tongue weight on it. You may also see a class that refers to a range of weights. And same thing with the ball. If you notice that circle on the very top, that's where you're going to find your information. There are 3 different sizes of ball. They generally conform to a certain weight range, but again, you cannot make assumptions because a 2 5/16 might be rated less than a 2-inch. So refer to actually what's stamped on there. All right, so we're already throwing a little bit of math at you. This won't be too severe though. I want you to be just roughly aware of a few terms here. We're not going to work out a full example quite yet. So whenever you open your driver's door of your vehicle, you might notice a little decal, and maybe you've never read it, maybe you have if you're into things like that, like I am. But on that decal, it tells you the maximum allowed weight of your tow vehicle all on its own, the gross vehicle weight rating. So you've got an unloaded weight of the vehicle, you've got the weight of your passengers and cargo, and then you've got your gross vehicle weight rating. So when you add up the base curb weight and the cargo weight and the passenger weight, you get that GVW, that gross vehicle weight, and it needs to be under the weight rating. Now, the reason I stress all this is because it might seem like a big number that your vehicle can carry, but suddenly you start throwing in igloos of ice and perhaps beverages. I'm not here to, judge. Um, and you throw in 4 or 5 passengers, and then you throw in everyone's luggage. Now you're getting up to that GVWR very quickly before we've even thought about towing a trailer. You've got your fish, your bait, maybe you're going out hunting. It all stacks up, so be aware of it. Then you've got your loaded trailer weight. So you take the actual weight of your vehicle, the actual weight of your trailer and its cargo, and that gets you the gross combined weight, which, just like the GVW and GVWR, we need to keep under the gross combined weight rating of the tow vehicle. I'll give you a little more detail on this so it makes sense. So this is what you step over every day. This is called a certification label, and it's going to be in that door jamb. And this is where you're going to find your GVWR. But often for your tow vehicle, you're not going to find your GCWR in there. So that's something you need to actually go to the manufacturer's website and look up a towing guide or check your owner's manual for the vehicle. And that is going to give you a very specific gross combination weight rating based on the exact trim level and combination of your vehicle. Now, a very similar thing to the certification label exists on the trailer, right? And what you're looking for here is the gross vehicle weight rating of your trailer. So it could be GTWR, GVWR. And then you're going to follow the exact same process. What is my cargo? What is the weight of my trailer? I add them up. Is it below this rating? So how do we actually know what's in our trailer? What if we're not sure how heavy the trailer is? What if we've got a gray water tank or something like that? Well, I just want to make you aware of a couple really easy ways to get your weight. So let's say you're using your trailer, you go out, you load something onto it, you want to be absolutely sure what you're doing. There are networks of scales available. Truckers use them, but don't be intimidated by all the trucks around. It can be $13 to $15, and you can find these CAT scales anywhere. They will give you the weight in any which way you please. They'll tell you what you need. Another thing to try, if they allow it, is landfills. That's how they charge you when you're dropping things off at the landfill, is they weigh you when you come in, they weigh you when you go out. So it's worth calling ahead to see if you can get on that scale, and it might even be free. All right, so let's get back to the math. I'm not going to run you through every single word on this page, but I want you to think in a certain way. So when we're talking about selecting the right things to create a towing combination of vehicle, hitch system, and a trailer, what I want you to think is go tip to tail. Go from the nose of the combination to the very rear. And so when we start up near the front, near the driver's door, what is my GCWR? What's my GVWR? What's my cargo in the vehicle? Then we work our way back. Okay, here's the first component of the hitch system, the hitch receiver. What is the rating on that? Now we go back to the ball mount, now the ball, now the coupler, which must match your ball, and then over to tongue weight, which we'll talk about under loading in just a moment. You need to be aware that the rating of your system is the smallest link in the chain, right? The weakest link in the chain. So if you've got a big old hitch that'll pull a house down, but you've got a ball that's good for half that, your whole system is only good for half that. All right, and then now that we're all experts in the hitch system, let's go back to the trailer tongue. A lot of important things are right here at the very front of the trailer, so I want you to think about this. You're going to have a coupler that goes onto the ball, and here are a few common styles of coupler. The reason I show you all these cutaways is because there are a couple ways things can go sideways here. So when you're actually putting the coupler on the ball, we need to make sure that these things never get separated. So almost all couplers that you're going to encounter, they have a ball clamp, no matter what they look like, which scoops underneath the ball and then is cinched up against it so that the coupler cannot come off of the ball. So a good way for things to not work out is by lowering the trailer tongue onto the ball such that everything is resting on the ball clamp, so that when you tighten it up, the clamp never actually grabs the ball and keeps it from coming off. Um, Also, you can run into problems with, let's say you've got a drop and toe coupler, you've got your latch up because you forgot about it, and you never put your latch down. So now we're not clamping the ball. Or you've got a trigger style coupler and it's just worn out. So now again, it's not securely clamping. So think in terms of the ball clamp, grabbing the ball and securing it there. All right, working our way back on the trailer, tip to tail. Let's talk about safety chains for a second, because there are some misconceptions. Generally, you want your safety chains to be crossed. They are a safety tool, right? So they're only there in the event that that coupler comes off the ball. So we have to set them up right and don't treat them as if they aren't a primary system, right? So we're going to take our chains, we're going to cross them and secure them to our hitch receiver. That's generally where you're going to find the most appropriate place. The reason we cross them isn't necessarily to create a safe basket for them to ride in the event that the coupler comes off the ball. The major impact you're going to see during trailering is that when you cross them, you get a little bit of extra slack when turning, and that helps you keep from dragging the chains. When you hook these up, you can twist them. A twist is okay, but when you get a knot in the chains, that's going to begin compromising the strength of the chains. And we need that full amount of strength to be there in an emergency. So a good way to do it is to run it forward to the hitch system, loop it back, and then connect the chain to itself such that they're crossed and you have at least a fist worth of distance from the ground to the chains. If you hook your combination up on unlevel ground or your tow vehicle is at an angle to the coupler, it's going to change the lengths of the chains. So when you straighten it out, it might not go the way you expected. So make sure your combination is in a straight line on level ground. Get that fist worth of distance, at least 3 inches, and make sure they're crossed and not kinked. Also, if they've been dragging, make sure they're not worn away totally. You might just have a chain that's supposed to be this thick and down to this. All right, I'm going to jump around to one more topic on the trailer before we hand it over. Your trailer brakes. This is more a myth-busting slide. The purpose of your trailer brakes is to shorten the stopping distance and to help your vehicle slow everything down. It also meets legal and industry requirements, and it lets you tow something larger than you otherwise could. Your brakes are not a tool to drive the combination. So if you're experiencing sway or you want to manipulate the vehicle in some way, grabbing that trailer brake controller is not the way we do it. You want to set it up in accordance with your trailer brake controller's manufacturer's instructions and then leave it. Not a tool for driving the vehicle. And then when we get to the trailer, UTVs have become so popular in the last few years, we want to give you some special guidance here. So when you're loading a UTV on a trailer, we want you to attach the UTV on all four corners in a way where your straps are as short as they can possibly be. So generally this means an H pattern coming off of the UTV. A lot of people will tell you to cross them, and there's some real thought behind it. When they're crossed, they're better able to resist sort of side-to-side forces and keep your UTV, your golf cart, your car from walking sideways on the vehicle or on the trailer. The issue here is that if a single tie-down point gives up, or a single strap is loose, or a single strap fails, now what you have is a whole lot of slack and a vehicle that is no longer connected to the trailer at all. So I want you to think in terms of H pattern and how can I get these straps short? All right, So now we've got our whole combination together. We've checked our GVWR, our GCWR. We know our vehicle loading. We know our trailer loading. Our hitch system has the right ratings. Everything's hooked up correctly. Again, go tip to tail before you depart. So is the coupler fully seated? Is my hitch pin inserted through both things? Is my clip fully inserted or just a little bit? If I have an emergency brake cable, because it's a brake trailer, is that attached to its own special location on the hitch receiver? Is my wiring connected? Is my tongue jack raised fully? Think about one thing at a time and go through in a known pattern. And by the way, make sure to check your lights. This is really important, especially dawn, dusk, night. Um, it tells people your intentions, but it also helps keep them from hitting you. So use a second person, do what you have to do, but follow a procedure to make sure your trailer lights work. A trailer is almost always wider than your tow vehicle. Trailers can often be tall, and your tow vehicle's lights may not be visible whatsoever to traffic behind you, especially traveling at a high speed. So get a helper, do what you need to do, check your running lights and tail lights, check that they respond to your brake pedal, check that they respond to your turn signals, make sure everything's happy, it's not going to become disconnected, make sure it's not damaged. There you go. All right, so now everything's hooked up. We're ready to tow. How do trailers behave? Marco, Sal? Oh, Sal, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I had pressed that button. All right. So our general rule of thumb is what we preach is the 60/40 distribution weight for our trailers, meaning we want 60% of the weight to be in the front of the trailer and 40 in the back. Kind of even out the load so we can, maximize the stability when we're riding on the road. Um, so yeah, so the some of the biggest contributors to sway, um, where are we going here? What does it look like that? There we go. So yeah, so the purpose of having the 60/40 ratio is to keep balance, keep that center of gravity in front of the axle of the trailer. Um, Obviously, we don't know what we're loading all the time, and if we're moving, we got to make sure we always suggest loading the heavier stuff first. Don't pack your pillows first, pack your fridge, so we can have control as to what the front of the trailer looks like and maintain that balance as we move down the road. As you could see, how it acts, the improper loading when you have too much weight on the back. Um, it acts like sorry. Uh,
Teeter totter, seesaw.
what's that? Yeah, yeah, it acts like a seesaw and just kind of becomes unstable on the road.
Mhm.
And having too much weight on the axle at the same time is not good for the axle or the stability of the vehicle. Here we have some images of vehicles improperly loaded, having a lot of the weight on the back and the effects it does on the trailer and the towing vehicle.
A great analogy before we get into there that Marco shared with me is you see this center of gravity dot in the middle of the trailer. Think about a trailer as an arrow flying through the air. So when you have an arrow, you have a heavy arrow head, or even one of those little Nerf things you throw, the Nerf footballs with the fins at the back. And then you've got your feathers at the back. And so the arrow head is punching through the air, but the feathers are correcting the direction all the time. So if you have your arrowhead behind your feathers, you throw that arrow, what's it going to do? It's going to turn around real quick,
Right.
what you don't expect or desire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
that's a great.
in general, always load heavier in front. Too much weight behind the axles or suspension will want that trailer to turn around. So always heavier in front. Horse trailers, uh, boat trailers, even a boat trailer will have an axle pretty far back. That's just compensating for the design of the boat. But in general, just heavier in front. Now, someone may ask, what if I just have one big heavy thing, like a skid steer or an excavator, and they say, well, I want to put that right over the axle. Well, you're kind of close. You do want it close to the axle because one big heavy weight, but you still want it forward of the axle. You still want the center of gravity of that one big thing still in front of the center of suspension of the trailer. Now, it doesn't matter if the trailer has one axle or three axles. The center of the suspension is the center of whatever axle system you have.
Yeah.
All right, so what causes the sway? And the biggest factors, obviously, is the velocity, right? We always recommend 55 miles per hour, but the faster you travel down the road, the easier it is for the trailer to lose control. You know, other factors include driver tendencies, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, kind of random lane changes, things that are kind of a little tougher on the vehicle because when you do it without a trailer, it's tough on the vehicle. Now you're adding that extra weight, so it becomes a little more unstable when you're traveling down the road. And once again, loading conditions. Properly loading that vehicle makes, a world of difference. When you have all the weight in the back, it reduces the stability. I know Marco's talked about that baseball example,
Yeah,
when
so
you're
I'll explain that one. So the baseball bat example is, those that have played sports, could be baseball, could be golf, and before you swing, there's a lot of players that put a weight at the end of the baseball bat or a weight at the end of the club to swinging that club. That extra weight makes it really difficult to go from one direction and bring it back to the other direction. If you take the exact same amount of total weight and put that weight near your hands, you can bring that bat or club back and forth really, really fast. Same thing happens with the trailer. If you put a lot of weight at the end of the trailer, far away from the hitch ball, that trailer has a hard time going one direction and coming back. But if you put a lot of the weight towards closest to the front of the tongue, it'll want to correct itself very quickly and become stable much quicker. So that's called moment of inertia. There's a lot of inertia behind the trailer. It's going to be really difficult where the proverbial tail is wagging the dog. Go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously that's one of the main reasons why we want the weight in the front. We don't want that inertia to work against us. We want to control that energy going forward. And here Marco can better explain what the trailer demonstrator we have that he helped design.
So this is a quick video that we created on an invention that we have called the MGTD. It's a trailer demonstrator that shows the importance of properly loading a trailer. It's always load heavier in front. So if you want to go ahead and click the video, I'll kind of speak through it. So we have a car on a treadmill towing a trailer, and there's more weight in the front. So the red weight is identifying more weight in the front. As the weight gets moved to the rear, it's the same amount of weight, just place a different position, higher moment of inertia. As you disrupt it, the combination will go into sway and loss control. But then if you put the weight back to where it used to be, again, same amount of weight in the entire trailer, put the weight in the front of the trailer, it becomes stable again. And then some people say, does that really work in the real world? Here's a video that shows a real world scenario where somebody experiences trailer sway and it ends up swaying and then going to a loss control. So go ahead and start that one if you'd like. Now we'll get to at some point, what do you do when you counter sway? What are the proper driver actions when you counter sway?
Not that.
And then here's another quick video that U-Haul put together with a full size MGTD where we can adjust the weight scenario, the loading condition of a trailer. And we can show the difference between a properly loaded trailer and improperly loaded trailer as to what that effect will be in a full-size vehicle under controlled conditions.
And I will need to change my share here. Just a moment. All right, are we seeing the video here?
I can't hear the audio, but I remember Ginger talks about a special way to share it so the audio comes out.
Today we're going to demonstrate
There we go. I'm starting to hear it now.
a specially designed U-Haul motorcycle trailer which allows us to easily change the trailer loading condition. The trailer is presently loaded heavier in front in a 60-40 loading configuration consistent with the U-Haul trailer instructions. We're going to run a series of Society of Automotive Engineers sway stability test procedures. The test requires the driver to drive at speeds up to 65 miles per hour while putting in a significant steering input. The test established that in a properly loaded condition, the tow vehicle combination is stable. We've now moved the load to the rear, and this is an improper loaded condition with low tongue weight. Test driver will approach a speed of approximately 32 to 34 miles per hour. And as you can see, without any steering input, the combination loses control and spins off. Had we been on a public road, the result would have been a significant and catastrophic accident. This test makes very clear the importance of always loading your trailer heavier in front. Remember, reduce your normal driving speed and please always wear your seatbelt.
Okay. And we normally get questions on that video. Yes, we did that a few times. Yes, I absolutely was not steering while driving. The trailer sway gets so bad, the entire combination spins around, and you're just along for the ride. I was not steering. I was not faking it. The trailer did go out of control and send the entire combination spinning on the racetrack or on the track. Next, Sal, or next slide. All right.
Can you still see my toolbar up there? I want to make sure I got screen share right.
I think I see the toolbar on your Internet Explorer.
Okay, here, let me. There we go.
We good there? Oh,
Yeah, just gotta get to the.
That's okay.
So Sal, tell them what to do when they actually do experience sway. And again, sway is normal. I want everybody to understand. Ginger said it earlier. Sway is normal. Sway is a response to external input. Just like a tree branch will move with some wind, that's normal. When a tornado comes and knocks the tree branch over, that's bad. So we want to prevent getting to the tornado, hurricane level of winds. So how do you do that, Sal?
So for starters, and I probably should have added this to the slide, but first, don't panic. Like you said, sway happens. Sometimes wind, sometimes other traffic causes the trailer to move a little bit. But remove your foot off the accelerator. Slow down gradually. There's no need to panic once again. Hold the steering wheel straight. Hold it firm. Kind of hold your course and just ease into the slowing down. And above all, do not brake. Once you start adding that extra brake and that's when you start losing control. So once again, once that's happening, pull over to a shoulder, check your load, check your connections, and make sure everything's fine. But yeah, braking is not that we want to stop. Just get your foot off the gas and hold straight until you can get to a safe spot to check your load.
I'll take this slide. It's a bit of mathy, a lot of math going on. So this is just showing on the left, there's 3 dots, then there's the middle, there's 3 dots, and the right, there's 3 dots. This is sway response, your damping ratio, how stable it is. Higher numbers better. At 45, 55, and 65. As you increase speed with the exact same combination, stability decreases. If you continue the line to about 90 miles an hour, you'll find that you have 0 stability. And if you go past that, you'll be unstable. The trailer will want to go out of control on its own. So basically, you're losing your factor of safety of damping or correction. And the formula on the top is the mathematical formula for trailer damping ratio or stability, which is effective tongue length, which is the distance between the hitch ball and the center of suspension. The R is the load of the center of gravity, how far the center of gravity is from the hitch ball. And then V is the velocity of the combination. So we'll do the next little tap here. And as you change R or a little load, if you make the load further towards the center of the suspension, as R gets bigger, the improper loading says that now we used to be able to go 90 miles an hour with a properly loaded combination. Now you go to 75 miles an hour in this example, which is pretty close to highway speeds. But not only that, if you have to do some kind of evasive maneuver at 65, that improperly loaded trailer, you lose your factor of safety of having more stability. So you lose that stability by improperly loading the exactly same design trailer by only changing the center of gravity of your load. So improperly loaded. Go ahead.
So a couple of ways to improve stability or the sway, just to have a longer tongue on the trailer, and have, obviously like Marco said earlier, there's specialty trailers for specialty items, boats, horses, and stuff like that it's going to reduce the sway on your trailer. Uh, and sometimes people just kind of want to move everything over the axle, like we mentioned before, but sometimes this can exceed the axle, weight rating, the capacity of it, and make the drive even more unstable.
From an engineering perspective, the trailer design affecting the sway has a few implications for us, right? So your trailer design can change a lot, and it change how it interacts with the tow vehicle, and it change how it behaves dynamically. And so what you ought to do is if you have a specialized trailer, like an industrial trailer, like a Wells Cargo, you should check with the manufacturer recommendations there, because as engineers, we mentioned only two parts of that equation on the last slide, where you're in charge, the loading and the speed, but we're controlling all of the other letters in there, right? So we may give you some special advisories, right? So we don't need to get too deep into that.
Yeah. So if everybody here, I think a lot of the poll said they're users, not designers. A lot of the things on this screen are outside your capability of changing. What's left is your speed and how you load the trailer, and that's all you've got. So just drive reasonably and load it properly.
Cool.
So, but if you do put the load too far forward, another mouse click, you can start exceeding the rear axle or rear tire of that tow vehicle. And now you start blowing rear tires, you start failing axles. If you put the load too far forward, you really start messing up your tow vehicle. Now, it'll be very, very stable. It'll have some other issues, and we want you to avoid those other issues. So in general, go back to what Sal said in the beginning. In general, heavier in front, 60-40 with our trailers, just load heavier in front. Doesn't need to be 90-10. 90-10 will be a really bad idea. 60-40.
All right, so quick recap. Know your combination, tip to tail. Understand how to respond to sway, not with your trailer brake controller, with no pedal input, lift off the brakes, lift off the accelerator, do not steer, pull over gradually, and reload your cargo. And any questions?
Great. There are some questions coming in, so thank you guys for all that information. Keep them coming. So one question that we have is, it says, I've heard that for a travel trailer, you want a minimum of 10% tongue weight. Others say as much as 12 to 15% of the trailer weight. What is your recommendation? Who wants to take that one?
I would say look at the owner's manual. Look at the owner's manual of the trailer manufacturer and look what it says. Follow that. So if it says 10% and it's 2,000-pound travel trailer, 200 pounds tongue weight. If it says 50%, then you want what, 25 or 30, 300 pounds tongue weight. So look at the owner's manual. If not, 10% to 15% is a good guide to use, anywhere between 10 to 15%.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. I have another one that asks, how do you know if you have too much tongue weight besides, your whole car lifting up like you had in one of those pictures? What do you suggest?
Well, I would say, from my experience, when you have too much tongue weight, now I'm gonna use a term of art, but the car gets really darty, which means you start lightening the front axle so much that the car driving it starts like kind of wanting to wander on its own and feels very, very light steering. So it starts getting very, very darty. Look at what people call squat, if it has too much squat. And then how do you correct that? One, you can change your load. But if changing your load is not an option, and you have a system that could be use a weight distribution hitch, look into using a weight distribution hitch system, which adds through levers and springs. It adds weight to the front axle through a lever system. But if that's an option, I would do that. If none of those are options, then somehow you've selected the wrong towing combination. You might have a half-ton truck, we need a one-ton truck, or have half-ton truck, you need a dually, something like that. So something would be wrong in your selection.
A couple thoughts to throw in there as well. If you are towing a U-Haul trailer, and this may scale to other vehicles or other combinations, but if you're towing a U-Haul trailer, what we suggest is taking a yardstick, looking at the height of the coupler above the ground, because remember, we're loading on a nice flat, straight, level surface. Take that measurement, and then after you load the trailer, check that measurement again. You should see about a 1-inch drop. This doesn't apply to all combinations, but generally, if you're renting a U-Haul, that's what we suggest you do. Look for a specific and modest amount of drop in coupler height. Another thing you can do is remember the cat scales I mentioned earlier. If you want to get really technical, you could weigh your vehicle, your rear axle, before and after loading at a scale. Might not be practical for everyone, but it's an option.
In the chat, we had someone says, do you have any thoughts on friction sway control devices? What do you guys think about those?
Ooh,
I can take that.
Okay.
Those are all they're assistants. They're somewhat band-aids. If your trailer's loaded improperly, it's going to sway no matter what. So you've got to get the trailer loaded properly to begin with. Now, those friction systems, what they do is they correct minor sway. So if you're in a towing vehicle that's really sensitive to sway on the road, and I can tell you from experience, my father had an F-150 with a travel trailer, and I towed it, and it was very sensitive. So it was constantly just kind of swaying a little bit on the roadway. And to someone unfamiliar, that could be unnerving. That could be a situation where they don't enjoy that. So adding the friction controller or friction sway bars will help that stay a little more stable. It'll prevent that constant movement, but it also makes it difficult if you have to do a lot of 90-degree or right-hand turns or left-hand turns. So it becomes very difficult if you're in a city and you're turning a lot. So it's a trade-off, like anything. It's a trade-off, but does it assist with minor sway? Yes. Does it fix it improperly with the trailer? Absolutely not.
A good point. What about last time I towed, a semi passed me and the trailer started swaying a bunch? What should I do if this happens?
Follow
Not
Sal's
freak out,
advice.
according to Sal.
How do we respond
Follow
to space,
Sal's
Sal?
advice.
What do we do?
Yeah, just slow down a little bit, don't break, but maybe increase your following distance sometimes, but give yourself a little more space to work with. But just, lay off the accelerator. Don't panic. Definitely don't panic.
All right, so
And
wheel straight, lift off the accelerator, do not touch the brake.
That's it.
yeah, and it's a known phenomena when semis pass you, the pressure differentials causes you, even with a regular car, causes like you to get closer to the semi at some point, and it pushes you away at some point. So you just have to understand that, anticipate it. Again, maybe check your loading. Maybe you're not. If you are having sway in that situation, you may be going too fast. You may be overcorrecting. You may be very jerky with the steering wheel when it does happen. So try to smooth the steering wheel out. Maybe your load is not 60/40. So I would recommend all those things, but the easiest one to do, slow down.
Gotcha.
We got one.
We
How to set the trailer
have one. How to
brakes.
set the trailer brakes. So anybody want to take on how to set your trailer brakes?
Yeah, absolutely. So There is a general procedure that is common to electronic trailer brakes. Electronic is what you're usually going to encounter unless you're hauling a boat or a U-Haul. Um, and in that case, the manual for your trailer brake controller might tell you something like there's a little gain knob, and the more you increase the gain knob, the more maximum braking you get. And so what it'll tell you is load your combination, go to a safe place, accelerate a certain amount, and then adjust that gain knob until you get the trailer brakes locking up or sort of hopping, and then back that gain knob
While
off.
braking. While braking.
Yes, while braking. And while braking, the manual might instruct you to squeeze the controller to induce braking on just the trailer to see how it behaves. The brake pedal's a little easier and a little close to real world use. But generally, just follow your instructions. And if you have a newer vehicle, like a new F-250 or something like that, that has the brake controller built into the dash, owner's manual, because again, there's so many things as engineers that we can change and we have to change. We're going to warn you in those manuals of what you need to do for that specific application.
So thank you all for your thoughtful questions today. As a little gift for attending, we do have a downloadable resource available for the sessions, and you can access that by clicking on the resource button on your toolbar and save it directly to your device for referencing later. Additionally, there are a few links under the resources tab that you can view and share with your safety teams. One is Trailer Safety Week, and another one is that video of the demonstrator with the car and the weights on it, and how to tow safely, so that you can have that as well, as a resource for you too. So thank you again to our speakers, the U-Haul team, NATM staff, and everyone who joined us today in support of Trailer Safety Week. Safe towing doesn't start once you're ready on the road. It starts with preparation, understanding that equipment, and building good habits before you ever pull out of the driveway. So if today's session helped build your confidence, we hope so. And we encourage you to continue exploring the free educational resources available through trailersafetyweek.com. But thank you again for spending part of your day with us today. Tow safely, enjoy the journey, and have a wonderful day.